So obviously AEW Double or Nothing was last night live on pay-per-view on Fight TV, BR Live, and all around the world. And I think it's fair to say it was a big success, wasn't it? It was an event that lots of people enjoyed. Obviously, there were parts of it that I think people would have maybe preferred went a different way. If you want to know my full thoughts on Double or Nothing last night, we did a live watch-along, a reaction stream, all of that fun stuff. It's on the channel, so be sure to check that out. But we do have a ton of AEW news stories to get in today, especially with some of the information and the fallout from Double or Nothing last night. So let's get into today's stories, starting off with AEW's latest signing. Yes, now we spoke about this quite in depth on the stream last night, but I do want to talk about it in a bit more detail here, and that is that AEW has signed WWE Hall of Famer, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, is now All Elite. WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry has signed with AEW. The announcement came during last night's Double or Nothing pay-per-view, as he will not only coach for the promotion, but he'll also be an announcer/analyst for the upcoming Rampage show on Friday nights, debuting on TNT in August this year. Of course, then it's going to move to TBS in January next year, along with Dynamite. Now, Mark Henry walked out to the stage and waved to the crowd without saying anything and headed to the back during last night's show. It did feel kind of rushed. I don't know if it was just a case of AEW was trying just to, maybe they were a little bit behind, or they wanted to make the announcement, but they also had some matches that they still needed to do. It did feel kind of a little bit rushed, but look, I've seen some contrasting opinions to this one on social media. And I think it's just par for the course, to be honest, when it comes to AEW. Some people, obviously, you've got like with any promotion, you've got the people that love AEW. Then you've got the people that just openly despise it, and I mean despise the company. And the criticisms have been, oh, AEW, here we go again. They're going to sign another former WWE talent, another old WWE Hall of Famer, another retired person. They're doing the same mistake that WCW did. They're doing the same mistake that TNA did. And frankly, to that narrative, I disagree. I really disagree. Now, as far as we're aware, Mark Henry has retired. He stated that he has retired. Now, if you've seen him on social media recently, you'll know that he's dropped quite a bit of weight, and he's spoken about maybe a desire to get back in the ring. Maybe that will happen, maybe that won't happen. What Mark Henry is very good at, very, very good at, and certainly was very good for WWE, is scouting and recruitment. Once Mark Henry transitioned into becoming, a Legends contractor, going outside of the ring for WWE after his retirement, what he did do very well was going to various sporting events like the Olympics, like powerlifting, like strongman competitions, like the Arnold Classic, wherever, because Mark Henry, of course, was legitimately the world's strongest man. He broke all kinds of powerlifting records, held a lot of powerlifting records, competed in a ton of strongman competitions. He is widely respected in that environment. Also completed at the Olympic Games in powerlifting and in weightlifting. So this is a guy that's got a ton of credibility in those circles. And for WWE, he would go to those events. He went to the 2016 and the 2012 Olympic Games. He went to all of the Arnold Classics. He went to all of the strongman competition, and he helped recruit a ton of people into WWE that we know and love today. People like Braun Strowman, people like Bianca Belair. They'll credit their career to people like Mark Henry. Ty Conti posted a picture last night, said, I met Mark in 2016 at the Olympic Games in Rio in Brazil, and here I am in AEW today, and it was because of the conversations that I had with the likes of Mark Henry and Jerry Briscoe, who were at those games scouting for talent for WWE, that I got into the world of pro wrestling. That's what Mark Henry brings. I know people look at this immediately, go, oh, we're going to have Mark Henry wrestle again. Oh, we had Sting wrestling last night and all that kind of stuff. It's what it's what he's coming in for. He's coming in as a coach, first of all. I don't know how Mark Henry's going to do on commentary. I really don't know. I don't really listen to the Busted Open radio show, I've got to be honest. You can only over here in the UK get the podcast. I don't think you can get the full radio show because we don't really have access to Sirius XM over here in the UK, unfortunately. If we did, I would certainly be listening to it, but we don't. So I couldn't say what, if Mark Henry's a good broadcaster, a good whatever. I would assume, if he's working on the radio, he can't be that bad for Sirius XM. So who's to say he won't be a good broadcaster? He won't be a good color commentator. He won't be a good analyst. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. But when it comes to, as I mentioned, the recruiting side of things and the coaching side of things, look, Mark Henry's got some unique perspectives on pro wrestling. I think if from the clips and interviews that I have seen, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says when it comes to presentation of pro wrestling. I think his interview he did with Steve Austin on the Broken Skull Sessions was very interesting as well, because you got to see some of his philosophies and perspectives on pro wrestling. Again, I don't necessarily agree with them all, but sometimes we're having these coaches and having these, whatever you want to call them, coaches, agents, producers, whatever, in these companies. Sometimes having a different perspective isn't a bad thing at all. Paul Heyman was famously brought into WWE after ECW shut down to get on creative, and Vince McMahon said to him, I brought you in because I want you to be devil's advocate. I want to have the other opinion. I want to have the contrasting opinion. And one criticism of AEW could be that sometimes logic is forgotten, or sometimes they forget some of the tried and tested methods, or they forget some of the traditional wrestling psychology, and they go maybe too far in certain aspects, whether it's comedy, whether it's, again, psychology, whether it's whatever. Mark Henry, as a guy that, went through a lot during his pro wrestling career, does have sound psychology, and he's a smart guy, especially towards the tail end of his career. During periods of time, towards the tail end of his career, Mark Henry was red hot on a couple of occasions. The Hall of Pain stuff, something clicked, he got it. Later on, he turned into a great promo. Of course, you've got the Mark Henry salmon jacket promo where he does the fake retirement. That's all Mark Henry's idea. That he's got on record that he thought of that for years. He thought of that for a long time, and he wanted to do that, and he pitched that, and that was all his own idea. You don't have those kind of ideas. You don't have that kind of philosophy. You don't have those kind of just intangibles and feelings about the world of pro wrestling without having something to offer. And if he can impart that wisdom on the guys in AEW, then obviously it's a win-win. Mark Henry's got a ton of experience. And it might be a case of AEW, they've got some big guys on that roster, whether it's Wardlow or Luchasaurus or whoever. Having people like Mark Henry and Paul White having the ability to work with them, not necessarily in the ring, but behind the scenes, and saying, look, this is how you work as a big man. This is how you get yourself over. This is how you protect your integrity of your gimmick. This is how you protect yourself in terms of being a big man. That's invaluable for talent. So I don't have an issue with it at all. I really don't have an issue with it. And personally, I really like having color commentators that have got a huge amount of history in pro wrestling. We don't really have that much in WWE anymore. We don't. Look at Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, I mean, it's going to be interesting tonight, certainly, but Monday Night Raw, we have 3 color commentators, essentially, on that show. And I know you can say, well, Corey Graves is a former NXT champion, but I'm talking former world champions. I mean, I grew up with people like Jerry Lawler, John Bradshaw Layfield, Bobby Heenan. Even Bobby Heenan had experience in the ring. Jesse Ventura. All of those guys, even Taz, have a huge amount of history and credibility inside the ring. And I'm not saying that Corey Graves doesn't, but you look at Monday Night Raw's broadcast booth at the moment, it's 3 color commentators. It's Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, and the new guy, Jimmy Smith, who, when he was in MMA, mainly did color commentary. So, again, I like the idea of having my color commentators, my analysts, whatever you want to call them. I like them having a ton of history in the same way that when I'm watching my sport, whether it's football over here in the United Kingdom, well, whether it's whatever, you want to have someone on commentary that's been there, done it all, because you respect their opinion, you respect their experience, and it means more. If you've got Mark Henry or Paul White putting over the guy in the ring saying this guy's tough, or this guy knows what he's doing, or this guy's really, really good, as a viewer watching at home, you go, well, if Mark Henry or Paul White thinks that, then maybe this guy is good. Because I don't know if he's good, but if they're saying he's good, then man, he must be really good. That's how it works. So I don't necessarily, we might see one Mark Henry match, I don't know. I don't really care for that. What I do think is really beneficial to AEW with the Mark Henry signing is obviously, again, having credibility behind the scenes, coaching people, and on the in the broadcast booth. But I think the most invaluable thing that AEW have done by signing Mark Henry is signing someone that's got a proven track record at being very, very good at recruiting people, and recruiting people that turn out to be very, very good. Athletes, people that come from maybe a non-wrestling background, powerlifting, Olympic, whatever. Mark Henry has a proven track record at being very, very effective in that role. And frankly, I'm surprised that WWE were willing to let him slip through their fingers. So time will tell what Mark Henry does have to offer AEW, but I'm not against it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad signing whatsoever. I really do. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Now, he's going to speak for the first time this Friday on AEW Dynamite, so that's going to be interesting. So we've got some matches and segments announced for this week's episode on TNT. It's going to be another edition of Friday Night Dynamite. So as I mentioned, we've got Dustin Rhodes versus Nick Comoroto in a bull rope match that spins out of the Casino Battle Royale last night. You've got the Young Bucks facing Pac and Penta El Zero Miedo in a non-title match. We have Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus QT Marshall and Anthony Ogogo. Man, that was just fell flat like a fart in church, established, didn't it, last night? As I mentioned, we have Mark Henry speaking for the first time inside of an AEW ring, and we have the Britt Baker Championship celebration. We also have Jungle Boy in 2 weeks, 2 weeks' time, not this week, but the week after, will cash in his Casino Battle Royale AEW World Championship match against Kenny Omega. So that's very exciting as well. As far as thoughts of Mark Henry joining AEW, Tony Khan, of course, AEW president, commented during the post-show media scrum last night and commented on the WWE Hall of Famer joining the company and saying what Mark Henry will bring to the table. This is what Tony Khan had to say, quote, "Mark Henry and I are friends. Mark told me he was available and to do things that I would be really interested in doing. I thought that would be really interesting because he's not only a good friend, but he's also a really respected person in the wrestling business. A great wrestler, a great mind, a great scout, and a great analyst in wrestling. He gives his opinions on the radio, but he provides great scouting reports, and he really has helped mentor a lot of wrestlers in addition to being a great wrestling mind. I think he could not only be a great on-air personality, but a great backstage influence. He's a great friend and person, so it's great to have Mark in the AEW family, and it was great to announce it on such a special show." So I think that's the case, and I agree with Tony Khan there. He's mentioning about, obviously being a good wrestler, all that kind of stuff, but he's mentioned it a couple of times there. He's a great scout, he's a great analyst, and he's a great mentor. That's the reason for signing Mark Henry. We might not even see Mark Henry that much in terms of on screen. Obviously for Rampage we will, but I don't think we might not even see him inside the ring. I know he's saying that he wants to maybe do a couple of matches, but I think the real effectiveness of Mark Henry isn't even going to be as a color commentator on Rampage. I think it's going to be in his scouting and his mentorship backstage. I think that's really the exciting element there. So I think it's a good signing. I really do think it's a good signing. I wanted to comment briefly on some of the cameos that we saw last night during Stadium Stampede. We won't take too long on this since we did talk about it last night. But as if you saw Double or Nothing last night, you would have saw that the Inner Circle defeated the Pinnacle at last night's Double or Nothing event. The two teams battled it in the Stadium Stampede match, which was of course the pay-per-view main event, where if the Inner Circle lost, they would have had to disband. Sammy Guevara hit a 630 splash on Shawn Spears to pick up the pinfall win for his team. But during the match, there were a few cameos, including Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer and Conan. Meyer and another of his coaches looked on as Jericho beat the hell out of MJF in one of Daily Place's offices. Conan, however, though, acted as a DJ while FTR and Santana and Ortiz battled in a club. I really enjoyed, again, I don't know tons about the, obviously, NFL and stuff like that. NFL is popular over here in the UK, but in comparison to other sports, it's nowhere near, frankly. So I understood quickly that it was the Jacksonville Jaguars coach, but I really enjoyed the Conan cameo. It's the second one he's done in AEW. He did one when the Inner Circle and MJF went to Vegas last year. What I enjoyed immensely about this one, though, was the Impact tie-in, because you had FTR and Tully. Of course, Tully Blanchard is FTR's manager, but you had Santana and Ortiz with Conan as kind of their backup, their manager, which of course is LAX from Impact Wrestling. So I enjoyed that, and look, I would be interested to see if maybe Conan does come in once again to be the manager of Santana and Ortiz. Not that they need it, because Santana and Ortiz are both very good promos, and I'm not necessarily sure they need a manager, especially, I suppose, considering that the Inner Circle is staying together. But I enjoyed the cameos. I thought the cameos were fun, and look, the show was very, very good yesterday, wasn't it? We have some updates when it comes to pay-per-view dates as well. On last night's Double or Nothing, AEW announced its next pay-per-view, of course, will be All Out on Sunday, September 5th. The show will take place in Chicago, Illinois, but a venue was not yet confirmed. Of course, AEW has previously gone to the Sears Center Arena for this show, so one would assume that during Labor Day weekend on Sunday, September 5th, it will probably, I would think, take place from the Sears Center once again. Tony Khan and AEW have described that as their sort of home away from home, and obviously it has the ties into All In back in 2018, and the first All Out was in the Sears Center Arena in 2019. Of course, last year it was in Daly's Place due to the pandemic, but they're going back to Chicago on Sunday, September 5th. So obviously they're adopting this Sunday model now. I believe there was discussion, wasn't there, about, and we'll touch on this in a second, about why they were going to the Sunday model as opposed to the Saturday model. I suppose it is what it is. As far as matches, who knows at this point? A lot can happen between now and then. But it's just great to get back into a situation, obviously, where they're back to touring, but also where they're going back to these arenas for these big shows, because I have no doubt, and again, touch wood, fingers crossed, that people continue to get vaccinated and the pandemic can, reduce, and we can still get closer and closer to this light at the end of the tunnel. Not that we're there yet, but we can get closer to it. Being in a Chicago crowd is just always awesome, isn't it? A Chicago crowd is, for me, one of my favorite wrestling cities to watch. You know, I've never, obviously being over here in the UK, had the fortune of being able to go to an event in America, frankly. So one day, hopefully, if the channel blows up enough, we can do something like that. But Chicago is one of my favorite pro wrestling towns to watch. Obviously, the Allstate Arena, Rosemont Horizon, whatever you want to call it, is one of my favorite venues to watch. Every time that WWE runs an event there, it's always, maybe the event isn't always great, but the atmosphere is almost great, and some of the moments that they've had in that building has just been amazing. Like I said, I don't think they'll probably run that. I would suggest that they're probably going to go with the Sears Center Arena in Chicago once again, which I think holds about 10,000 fans, if I'm not mistaken. So around 10,000, something like that. So will they get 10,000? It depends on what the local regulations are at the time. You have to remember that obviously they ran Daly's Place last night and other cities have been announced. It all depends what the local state governments say and what the local authorities say about, you know, how many people they are going to allow in the building. Whether it's Florida, it's pretty much just been open season. You can do whatever you want. I don't know if it's going to be tighter or less tighter in places like Chicago or places that are in different stages of opening up. I don't know how that will necessarily work. But going back to Chicago seems like a given, so that's exciting. We also got another announcement for Full Gear in November. So we also know the date and location for Full Gear, because AEW Full Gear will take place from St. Louis, Missouri on November 6, 2021. This is a Saturday. So as I mentioned, they going to the Sunday model. They went to the Sunday model for Revolution, Double or Nothing, and All Out. But there was a report a while ago basically saying that Full Gear was expected to stay on the Saturday. So we're still going to have at least one Saturday pay-per-view this year. Now, this is the first time that AEW is going to run a pay-per-view in the gateway city of St. Louis, Missouri. The previous Full Gear events took place from Baltimore, Maryland in 2019, and of course in Jacksonville, Florida last year due to the pandemic. Now, unless anything changes, Full Gear is traditionally AEW's final pay-per-view event of the calendar year. So that's going to be interesting. And again, it's exciting. It's just, I don't know about you, but at this point, that now we're getting these announcements about return to tourings, and we're getting these announcements about, you know, dates and locations and fans being back. I'm so impatient because, for instance, tonight we're going to be watching Monday Night Raw, and I'm going to be doing the live reaction stream afterwards. Seeing Double or Nothing last night, seeing 5,500 people in attendance, seeing them just be so loud, so into the action, singing along, chanting, whether it's Jungle Boy, whether it's Hangman Page, whether it's Orange Cassidy, whether it's whatever, whether it's Chris Jericho and Judas, seeing that crowd so engaged, so happy, so red hot, and just enhancing the product, happy to be there. Go from that to back to the sterile Thunderdome tonight is going to be tough, and I don't blame WWE. We'll get there. We will get there. It's just I'm already impatient. Going, come on, and I just want it to be July so we can have Dynamite back on the road. We can have Raw, SmackDown all back on the road, and we can continue this journey towards what feels like what is ever going to be the new normal. So hopefully we'll get there soon. But I'm already impatient. We have some updates when it comes to the Tony Khan promo. Now, of course, Tony Khan made headlines this week when he cut a promo aimed at WWE President Nick Khan on WWE's reported talks with New Japan Pro Wrestling regarding a potential partnership. Now, the promo, of course, was released on AEW's social media channels, with Khan ending his promo by saying, quote, "I think there is room for only one, rather." I'll start that again. It says, by saying, "I think there is room for only one Khan in the wrestling business. It's me, Tony Khan, not some con man from Connecticut." Now, speaking during the AEW Double or Nothing post-show media scrum, Khan was asked about the promo and revealed some interesting facts about it. He said, quote, "I talked to New Japan and I asked them if they thought it would be a good idea and a good promo. And maybe Khan's doing some focus groups. A bit like Cody Rhodes, right? Maybe he's getting the workshop going. Some focus groups, workshops. Maybe you should ask Cody Rhodes. Did he send a voice note? Is that what he did?" Anyway, Khan continued saying, quote, "They thought it was great, and I thought it would be a great promo. It made sense. It was a big weekend for us, and it's true. We have a lot of stuff going on with New Japan. Everyone is welcome to talk to each other, and we've done some great stuff with New Japan just in the last few weeks, and I think we're going to do a lot of great things going forward with everything we've talked about and agreed to. I'm excited about it." So, look, he's basically said that he asked New Japan, they thought it was great, and at the time, I said this at the time, not so much about the Tony Khan promo, but when it comes to the WWE New Japan Pro Wrestling talks, I'll believe it when I see it. And I think that's kind of what Tony Khan was saying in this promo is, okay, well, I've been working with New Japan the last few weeks and everything seems fine. If you've been negotiating with them since March or April, you certainly haven't been doing that much, have you? and they haven't achieved that much. And now we're hearing stuff about, well, it might just be a case of a Daniel Bryan and all this kind of stuff. And I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it, because WWE doesn't get into relationships unless they try to buy the company or get everything they want and have the other company getting nothing. That's what they do. So I think it's interesting that Tony Khan said to New Japan, shall I do the promo? And they're like, yeah, of course, which probably says a lot about the negotiations as it is right now. So that's interesting. Speaking of that post-show media scrum as well, finally, Tony Khan did reveal that he has apologized to Hikaru Shida after the incident this past week on AEW Dynamite. Now, Tony Khan was not happy with his Spanish commentary team's actions on the latest AEW Dynamite episode on TNT and Fight. On March 28th, Willie Urbina was caught on a hot mic in the Fight TV broadcast making fun of Asian accents as AEW celebrated Hikaru Shida's one-year reign as AEW World Women's Champion. Alex Abrahantes asked Willie Urbina to do the translation of Shida's promo, leading him to do an impression of Shida and mocking Asian accents, and specifically Shida's accents. Dasha Corrette and Thunder Rosa were also on commentary for the incident. The next day, it was first broken by Dave Meltzer that Willie Urbina had been let go by the promotion. During the post-Double or Nothing media scrum, Tony Khan was asked about this and commented on the decision and his reaction to hearing what happened. Here's what he had to say, quote, "I didn't think there was any excuses. I was not happy. Afterwards, I heard of what was said, and having our commentators involved with that, what was said about her, who I also apologized to, I thought it was best for the company to make this decision." Now, Shida obviously competed at Double or Nothing last night, losing the AEW World Women's Championship to Britt Baker, DMD. And like I said, I know some people said that maybe a suspension might have been better for Willie Urbina and all that kind of stuff. I just felt there was no coming back. It was abhorrent. And even if you didn't think you're on a hot mic, and obviously he didn't know, but be professional. That's got no place in the workplace. It's got no place in society. It was just racist. It was racist and it wasn't right. And I think AEW made the right decision, because that kind of stuff's unacceptable. And people saying about suspension and stuff like that, if you did that in your workplace, you would be fired as well. So we don't like to see anyone lose their job, but you can't do that. You can't do that. It's wrong. It's abhorrent. It's behavior that's unacceptable. Tony Khan, of course, wasn't happy about it. That's the reason why Willie Urbina was let go. Good to hear that he apologized to Hikaru Shida. Again, my opinion still hasn't changed, though, that I would have preferred that they released a statement and more immediately. It shouldn't have to take Dave Meltzer to break the story that Willie Urbina has been released, and it shouldn't have to take someone to ask Tony Khan a question in the post-show media scrum to say, oh, what did you think about this? They should be proactive in that. That's good. That's managing PR, and they didn't really do that in this situation. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of the AEW news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or how you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.